We can't always be cool and collected. Sometimes there are situations when we have to take action. When your life is on the line, it's no more Mr. Nice Guy. Today on rLounge, things get real when celery is on the menu. Mother-in-law constantly lies. Ironically, my mother-in-law and I were somewhat close before her son and I got together. Now she's taken to telling people lies, belittling me, and even trashing me to my 10-year-old daughter. She maintains that her son is confused by me. One of her favorite lies is that her son has to do everything when it comes to caring for our 2-month-old. She loves telling people I do nothing in caring for him. I generally stay up through the night with him, then go to bed to get a few hours sleep before getting up and helping for the rest of the day. She tells people I don't hold him right, which is actually something her son got mad at her for because she would pick him up without supporting his head. She also tells people I don't feed him right because she insists we should mix rice cereal in his bottle, and I flat out told her he's too young. A few weeks ago, she told her friend that I have no patience for a colicky baby because I put him in his bassinet and went to bed, leaving his dad to handle him for a while. What she failed to mention was that I had been up for nearly 24 hours straight at this point and was so exhausted I could barely stand. His dad is very involved in his care and has no problem caring for him. In fact, he had been telling me to go to bed for hours, but I was too stubborn. I've tried to be understanding and work with her. I've tried to account for her emotions and make her feel valued, but things are going too far and it's not getting any better, despite my efforts. Any attempt to sit and talk with her like an adult are met with clipped responses that she doesn't want to talk. I caught her complaining to my daughter that I don't do anything but eat and sleep just last week. Just yesterday, when my ex came to pick up our daughter, she tried to tell him I got him in trouble with the government. He had mentioned that they said he owed money, and my mother-in-law tried to convince him I was somehow to blame despite my ex stating otherwise. Edit. Yes, she does live with us, and my husband has on more than one occasion told her to back off, and has corrected her in saying I do plenty. Also, I haven't bothered trying to defend myself to any of these people since I know it won't work anyway. Update. The woman is clearly a gem. In the past week and a half, my mother-in-law has continued to lie about me and trash me. She's still sitting on her butt talking to people about what a horrible mother I am because I refuse to take her frankly idiotic advice. Mainly her insistence that my 2-month-old should be getting rice cereal in his bottle. I also overheard her on the phone the other day making fun of my weight. Again, 2 months after having a baby. Then today, when she realized I was coming downstairs to make a bottle for my son, she clammed up and then said to a person, "Well, I can't talk about that anymore right now," lowering her voice. "She's in the kitchen," followed by muttering before ending the call. My husband has also caught her twice just today, giving me dirty looks while I was minding my business and tending to our son. He told her off both times and told her she needs to knock it off and grow up. Her response was complete denial. "I didn't do anything." A few days ago, I was in the kitchen sanitizing bottles. She had bought cookies and made mention to my husband getting into them. She told her friend, "I felt like saying, well, you can have them, but if she has any, I hope she chokes." This from a woman who regularly eats my snacks, including a bag of gourmet almonds that my daughter picked especially for me. She's also telling people I'm forcing her son to change how he dresses. I'm not, because he's recently reverted back to his old style, which features a more gothic tone that she doesn't approve of. The other day when I was feeding my son, she said to him, "Are you going to be like your daddy and bring home strays, animals, and people?" My response, which she didn't like, was to look at my son and say, "Well, better a kind heart than a cold one." Update. You probably know where this is going. I'm allergic to celery. If I eat it, my heart rate goes crazy. I get deathly pale and sick. My mother-in-law knows this. Mrs. Dash has celery in it, which my mother-in-law is aware of. She cooked Christmas dinner this year. My favorite part has always been the stuffing. This year, something told me not to eat it. I couldn't explain why, but I've learned to listen to my instincts even when I can't explain it. Today, I had to run back inside before we went out, and she was on the phone with her friend. I heard her tell her friend, "She doesn't know there was 2 lots of Mrs. Dash in the stuffing." The problem is, I have no proof other than what I heard right now. Note, she was not testing my allergy. She has seen me react to celery before, so she already knew what would happen. I was having a conversation with her earlier, and mid-sentence I said, "I know about the celery," and kept talking like I hadn't said anything about it. Should have seen her face. She might think she's losing it now. Let's see what the community has to say about all this. Shawan01 says, "I would have walked right in and said, 'That's why my instinct told me don't eat it. But don't worry, you'll never get another chance to try to poison me again.' Then went no contact with her. You have to stand up for yourself. People like your mother-in-law work on the fact of your self-doubt and avoiding confrontation. Stop worrying about how they will react to being confronted. Take care of yourself and make sure your significant other has your back. The OP replies, I'm not going to avoid the conflict, just biding my time and gathering evidence so her denial will mean nothing. I plan to go after her legally too. If she's done it once, she'll try again, and I don't eat anything she cooks at all now. Still Me After 50 says, oh, the memories of the ex and his family trying to kill me on accident. I finally just started bringing my own food and refusing to share anything. Even he wasn't allowed my cooking that day if I was forced to endure his family. I am anaphylactic to mushrooms and fish and shellfish. Mother-in-law and his siblings had to have worked long and hard to figure out my menus where every item contained at least one of those items. Even got mushrooms in cakes and puddings. Pre-internet times, so no clue how many hours were spent finding those recipes, but they were up to the challenge. Obviously it ended in divorce, as that wasn't even the worst of that story. I remarried, but only have family dinners with in-laws at restaurants, or if I prepare all the food. Have you talked to your husband about the celery issue? I feel like that would be grounds for getting her the heck out of the house. There's no reason to have someone like that around you or your family. She'd literally try to kill you. She needs to go. Update. Old switcheroo. For reasons I will not get into, we very recently had to move in with my mother-in-law. We were hoping to get out as fast as possible given what she's like. If it weren't for our son, we would have just suffered, but we needed to think about him being safe, and despite her hatred of me, she would not actively hurt him. There is an advantage to this situation. Keep your enemies close, as they say. About a month after I gave birth to her only grandchild, she slipped my allergen, celery, into the stuffing she made at Christmas. I didn't get proof right away, but intuition told me not to eat it, so I didn't. Anyway, we found where she was hiding the seasoning with the celery in it. I told my husband if we toss it, there's nothing to stop her from buying another bottle. So we instead replaced it with a blend of spices that won't hurt me and looks just like it. Update. Some people won't grow up. My mother-in-law just won't quit. She still tells people I don't do anything. I would like to know who she thinks has been taking care of the baby, with help from my husband, doing housework, laundry, and most of the cooking then. My husband knows I enjoy housework, so he mostly leaves it to me unless I ask for help. I don't mind. I'm just tired of her lying. She is also under the delusion that my daughter needs her permission to have ice cream that I bought. A few days ago, she was telling her friend, well, the other day she came out with a bowl of ice cream. I'd like to know how she got it because I didn't tell her she could. I didn't even know it was there. If it was something of hers, I'd tell her she needs to ask her, but I paid for the ice cream, so she doesn't need her permission. She also complains saying it's my fault the Rogers bill is higher because the cable went up because of Netflix. The internet is unlimited and Netflix is paid for by my husband out of his own bank account. Nothing to do with her. The other day we were all in the living room and of course she was acting like I don't exist. She told my husband, I looked into it and you can put him in a mommy and me swimming class at 6 months, but grandmas can go instead. We had never talked about swimming classes. My husband quickly told her as he is our son, we will decide if he goes into a class and why, when it's a mommy and me class, does she think she would be the one going instead of me anyway. She also ran into a couple of my friends at the mall and told them to stop gifting things for the baby since we don't use them. Untrue. She also told them that we are throwing out her stuff without permission. The only thing I've thrown out is literal garbage she leaves laying around because it's disgusting. I also overheard her talking to my son the other day, 5 months, saying, Nanny needs to take her medication. If I don't, you won't have a nanny. And then who will raise you like I do? Nobody. That's who. She does not raise him. He has 2 fully committed parents for that. There are some nights when our son is okay in the dark and others where he'll cry until we turn a light on. We have explained this to my mother-in-law as she says we forget to turn it off. She told her friend, that baby is not afraid of the dark. I know what's wrong with that baby. She watches all the spooky movies and stuff at night. It was 4 a.m. and I was watching Rules of Engagement. She also complained the other day, again, saying, I'm tired of her drinking all my juice and leaving none for anybody else. She proudly told her friend, the other day, I was sure she was going to get into it, so I went and took a big glass and just left a little dribble in the bottle. That was actually my bottle that my husband bought me. Hers was orange juice, which she finished. Mine was cranberry. I don't mind sharing, but she needs to realize not everything is hers. Her son and I buy the majority of the groceries. The last time she bought some, she said, I picked up some groceries today. Well, groceries I can use. She also has already eaten half of the family-sized box of Cheerios I bought without so much as asking. I hadn't even opened it yet. The woman is driving me insane. I know right now we are living with her, but holy crap, if we thought the way she did, at the very least, she would starve. Let's see what the community thinks. First up, from Relevant Put 77. Sounds like you're never going to get an ounce of peace until you kick her out to the curb. Buttercup 303 wants to say, your mother-in-law is grooming your child and everyone around her that she is raising your child. This will only get worse as the child gets older. You and your husband need an exit plan to living with mother-in-law before your child gets old enough where she can really interfere with the relationship between you and your child. She doesn't want you there. She would prefer that you just leave and let her raise your child. Imagine what it will be like for your child to see her treating you, the child's mother, with complete disdain and telling your child that she is the one raising him. This will at best lead the child to be confused as to who he is supposed to listen to. At worst, she will turn your child against you. Your child is a baby and doesn't get it, but once your child is a toddler, they will start to learn and mimic the world around them. This is their normal, and they don't understand what's right and wrong or nuances. Children believe everything they hear when they are young, particularly by the people they trust. Because she lives with you, she will be a trusted person to be believed by your son. The OP replies, that's why we're saving up to get out. I'm sorry you're in a state where you are forced to live with her. In this situation, I think it's important that your husband really sticks up for you and his family. He needs to stand up and do something about how she's behaving. If she won't listen to you, hopefully she will get the point when her own son says something. I feel like switching out the herbs is a very passive way of dealing with a situation when it calls for much more. No more Mr. Nice Guy. What would you do? Thank you for joining us today on rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to say regarding today's content, share that with us in the comments below.